Namaste and welcome to your UPSC news analysis for the 26th of April, 2025. In this deep dive, we're going to unpack some really crucial current affairs.
That's right.
We'll break down the fundamental concepts you need and pinpoint the issues that are most relevant for your upcoming mains examination.
Exactly. We've got insights from quite a few sources today.
We have. It should give you a really well-rounded understanding. Okay, let's jump right in. Starting with defense, India and France. They're finalizing the Rafale M deal.
Indeed.
Oh.
And the M there is key, isn't it?
Right, Marine.
Yes, Marine.
Yeah.
It's the naval version of the Rafale fighter, specifically built for aircraft carriers.
So different from the Air Force one.
Oh, definitely. It's got, reinforced landing gear for those hard carrier landings, rostral hooks to catch the deck wires, even foldable wings to save space.
Makes sense on a crowded flight deck.
Absolutely. And this procurement, well, it really signals a strategic push to boost our carrier air power, especially, given what's happening in the region.
And it suggests maybe our own indigenous options aren't quite ready yet.
That seems likely. The Teddy BF program looks promising, but it probably needs more time. This Rafale M fills an immediate gap.
Right. And we did buy Rafales before, back in 2016 for the Air Force. So why these naval ones now?
Good question. It boils down to INS Vikrant.
Our indigenous carrier.
Precisely. Commissioned September 2022. The Navy urgently needs carrier-based fighters for it. And after trials, the Rafale M apparently came out ahead of Boeing's FA-18 Super Hornet.
Yeah. So trials settle it. So what's the scale of this deal? How many planes and when?
The talk is about 22 single-seaters and 4 twin-seater trainer versions.
So 26 in total.
26, yes.
Yeah.
The signing is expected pretty soon, potentially when the French defense minister visits. Price is still being hammered out, but estimates are around 5 to 6 billion euros.
Wow, okay. A significant outlay. Now thinking prelims, objective questions, what are the key takeaways here?
Okay, for prelims, you'd want to note the Rafale M versus the FA-18 Super Hornet. Key differences like Cato bar capability.
That's the catapult launch system.
Right. Catapult-assisted takeoff, but arrested recovery. Also, their avionics, the ASA radar that's active electronically scanned array.
Like multiple eyes scanning different things at once.
Exactly. Big advantage. Their weapon systems, nuclear capability, their specific roles, air superiority, ground attack, etc.
Got it. And INS Vikrant itself.
Yes. India's second carrier, about 45,000 tons displacement. Also, know the key bodies, the Defense Acquisition Council, or DAC.
The ones who approve big purchases.
That's the one. Also, understand intergovernmental agreements, IGAs, the Defense Procurement Procedure, DPP, and don't forget the India-France Strategic Partnership, going back to '98, and Dassault Aviation as the maker.
Okay, solid points for prelims. Now shifting to mains, the analytical side. What are the deeper issues?
Well, it brings up India's whole strategy for deck-based fighters, doesn't it?
Because the MiG-29Ks have had issues.
Exactly. Serviceability concerns have been reported, and while the indigenous Teddy BF, the twin-engine deck-based fighter, is in development by HLEDO, it's likely still a decade away, maybe 2032-35.
So the Rafale M is an interim solution?
Essentially, yes. It fills a critical gap. But the challenges are there.
Yeah.
High cost, obviously. Continued dependence on foreign suppliers, for now. And the need for solid maintenance and logistics support.
Who are the main players involved here?
You've got the Indian Navy, Ministry of Defense, Dassault, and the wider Indian aerospace industry, which hopes for some benefits like MRO work or tech transfer.
And the geopolitical angle?
Huge. Strengthens India-France ties, boosts our maritime power projection, definitely seen as a counter to China in the Indian Ocean region.
Yeah.
Tech transfers are always a possibility, too. As one official said, it will strengthen India's strategic posture.
So looking ahead, what's the ideal path?
It has to be a balance, right? Strategic foreign buys like this when needed, but a serious, sustained push for the indigenous Teddy BF.
And leveraging these deals.
Yes. More Indian involvement in MRO maintenance, repair, overhaul, technology absorption, strengthening partnerships through exercises like Varuna with France, and really focusing on building up our carrier battle groups, the CBGs. It's about immediate capability and long-term self-reliance.
Okay, very clear. Let's shift now from the sea to the land borders. Tensions reported along the line of control, the LOSI. What's happening?
Yes, there are reports of an increase in militant infiltration attempts across the LOSI.
The LOSI being the de facto border in J&K.
Correct, the military control line. And by militants, we generally mean Pakistan Baath groups trying to cross into Jammu and Kashmir.
And why is this hitting the headlines now? More intense activity.
It seems so. Indian security forces have apparently intensified their counter-infiltration operations in some key sectors. There's been heavy firing reported, particularly in Poonch and Rajouri district.
It's a tense situation.
Very much so, especially after some recent encounters and arrests linked to these infiltration attempts. Intelligence seems to suggest a bigger push might be underway, perhaps timed before the upcoming J&K elections.
And civilians nearby are being affected.
Yes, as a precaution, some civilians living close to the Lost Sea are being temporarily relocated to safer areas.
Right. Okay, prelims focus again. What key details about the Lost Sea situation should aspirants know?
For prelims, know the important areas along the Lost Sea Poonch. Rajouri, Kupwara, Uri, Karan, Tangdar are often mentioned.
To hotspots.
Kind of. Know the forces deployed Indian Army, BSF, key agreements like the Simla Agreement 1972, which defined the Lost Sea, and the February 2021 ceasefire understanding, even if it's shaky.
And the organizations involved?
Yes. Pakistan's ISI is often linked to supporting infiltration. On the Indian side, you have RAW, IB, Army intelligence working to counter it. Also, be aware of the common infiltration routes, often through the Pir Panjal Mountains and known gaps.
All right. Now for mains analysis. What's the bigger picture here?
Well, you have to see this against the backdrop of the long history of militancy in J&K since '89, and also the situation after the Article 370 changes.
Did things change much after 370?
There was maybe a temporary dip, but attempts seem to be picking up again. The challenges for India are immense. The terrain is incredibly difficult.
And technology.
Militants are using better tech satellite phones, GPS. There's the issue of local radicalization, however small. And ceasefire violations are often, used as cover for pushing people across.
Who are the main stakeholders affected?
Obviously, the border civilians face the direct impact. Then you have the security forces, the J&K administration, and it always impacts the India-Pakistan diplomatic track.
And the socioeconomic impact.
Instability for residents. Hits tourism hard, strains any chance of dialogue with Pakistan. Army officials keep saying the terror infrastructure across Lost Sea remains intact. It's a persistent threat.
So what's the way forward for India? What strategies?
It has to be multi-pronged. Definitely beefing up surveillance, more drones, better sensors, satellite imagery.
Technology is key.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But also community involvement, things like the village defense committees, getting local eyes and ears involved. Diplomatic pressure on Pakistan needs to continue using forms like FATF, the UN.
And development?
Yes. Focus on development in border areas through schemes like the Border Area Development Program, BADP, that can help address local issues. And crucially, robust counter-radicalization efforts. It needs both hard security and softer approaches.
Okay. Next topic, Waqf law. The senator told the Supreme Court that misuse led to amendments. Let's unpack Waqf first.
Right. So a waqf is basically an Islamic endowment, usually property, like land, set aside permanently for religious or charitable purposes.
Inalienable, meaning it can't be sold.
Exactly. Held in trust forever, theoretically. The Waqf Act of 1995 is the law that governs these properties and the waqf boards that manage them. There's also a central waqf council.
And the news is about misuse.
Yes. The government was responding to a Supreme Court case where petitioners alleged things like unauthorized sales of waqf land, transfers, corruption within the waqf board.
Serious allegation.
Very. And the government's stance is that this reported misuse is why they brought in amendments to the act to tighten regulations and prevent this kind of thing. The SC is hearing challenges to the waqf board's powers, too. It's quite complex.
Prelims focus. Key legal points and institutions.
Remember the Waqf Act, 1995, and the amendments, especially the 2013 ones? Know the institutions. State waqf boards manage properties locally. The Central Waqf Council advises and oversees nationally.
What do the boards do?
Their main jobs are surveying waqf properties, keeping records, and protecting them from encroachment. The recent amendments aim for things like stricter audits, more power for the Central Council, and faster grievance handling.
And a quick fact.
India has a huge number of waqf properties, over 5 lakh reported. It's a massive portfolio.
Okay. Now for mains. What are the core issues with waqf management?
If you link this to governance and minority welfare, mismanagement is a big problem. Key challenges are encroachment. Lots of waqf land is illegally occupied.
By private parties.
Yes, or even government bodies sometimes. Political interference in the waqf boards is another issue. And often, a lack of professional management, proper record keeping. Yeah, it's quite traditional in many places.
Who are the stakeholders?
Primarily the Muslim community beneficiaries, but also the waqf boards themselves, the Ministry of Minority Affairs, and the judiciary, which handles disputes.
And the broader impact of mismanagement.
It erodes trust. It means funds meant for community welfare get lost or misused. And unfortunately, it can get politicized and stir up communal tensions. The Supreme Court itself said, transparency is the soul of religious trusts governance. That sums it up well.
So how can management be improved? What's the path forward?
Digitization is key. Getting all records online through WAMSI, the Walk Management System of India, that boosts transparency.
Their boards themselves.
Professionalizing them. Appointing qualified managers, not just political nominees. Stronger accountability, independent audits, maybe even CAG oversight for larger walks.
Community involvement.
Crucial. More participation from the beneficiary community in how boards are run. And finally, legal reforms to speed up how disputes over waqf properties are resolved in courts.
Right. Moving on, some sad news. The passing of former ISRO chairman Dr. K. Kasturirangan at 84. A huge figure.
Indeed. A monumental loss. Dr. Kasturirangan was ISRO's 9th chairman from 1994 to 2003. A critical period. He was central to developing our key satellite systems, IRS for remote sensing, INSAT for communications and weather.
And launch vehicles.
Yes, he oversaw the early crucial work on the GSLV, our geosynchronous satellite launch vehicle. His leadership really consolidated ISRO's capabilities.
And his influence went beyond space, didn't it? The National Education Policy.
Absolutely. He chaired the committee that drafted the NEP 2020, a landmark policy. So his contributions spanned both cutting-edge science and vital education reform.
A true visionary, a Padma Vibhushan awardee too.
Yes, and a former Rajya Sabha MP. His time at ISRO really marked India's shift from experimental space missions to reliable operational systems. Think PSLV becoming the workhorse, GSLV development starting.
Okay, prelims pointers on Dr. Kasturirangan.
Key things. ISR Chair 9403. Oversaw PSLV operationalization, GSLV development. Championed space applications for development. Awards. Padma Shri Bhushan, Vibhushan. Crucially, chaired the NEP Draft Committee. Was also on the Planning Commission. Know the missions during his time, IRS, INSAT series, early Chandrayaan ideas.
Got it. For mains analysis, how do we assess his legacy and the challenges he faced?
Well, think about the continuity he provided after giants like Sarabhai and Dhawan. He really stabilized and grew ISROs. His focus was dual, reliable launch vehicles, and practical satellite applications.
What were the main hurdles then?
Technological challenges? Definitely. Getting the GSLV right was tough. And navigating international restrictions, especially after the 1998 Pokhran nuclear tests, when technology denial regimes kicked in.
Stakeholder.
The Indian scientific community, obviously. The government of India, international space agencies ISRO collaborated with. His work massively boosted India's self-reliance in space, enhanced our global standing, and laid foundations for commercial arms like Antrix. The PM called him a visionary who expanded India's horizons beyond the skies. Apt.
Building on that legacy, what's the way forward now?
Continue strengthening indigenous programs, GSLV, Mk3, Gaganyaan, human spaceflight. Keep pushing space applications for development, just as he envisioned. Fully implement NEP 2020. Enhance international collaboration while keeping our core programs strong. And, importantly, inspire the next generation with science.
A fitting tribute. Okay, shifting gears to urban governance. Bengaluru's BBMP is undergoing changes with the new Greater Bengaluru Governance Bill. What's this about?
Right. This is a big deal for Bengaluru. The BBMP, the city's municipal corporation, is entering a transition based on this new 2024 Act.
Aimed at fixing governance issues.
Pretty much. The goal is better administration, more efficiency, improved services in one of India's fastest growing cities. The core idea is a decentralization, empowering governance down at the ward level.
So this transition phase, what does it actually involve?
It means gradually moving away from the old centralized BBMP structure. We'll see multiple regional administrative offices set up. Ward committees and zonal offices are supposed to get more power, more autonomy.
And BBMP elections.
That's the hope, that the long-delayed elections can happen under this new decentralized structure. It's all aimed at tackling things like inefficiency, delays in fixing roads, or garbage collection. The usual big city problems.
Okay, for prelims listeners, key concepts, facts about ULBs and these Bengaluru changes.
Definitely recall the 74th Constitutional Amendment Act, the basis for urban local bodies, ULBs, Articles 243P to 243ZG. For the new Bengaluru Act, know about the proposed 5 administrative zones, the empowered, likely elected ward committees, better grievance redressal mechanisms, more focus on planning and budgeting at the zonal level.
And basic BBMP facts.
Form 2007. Handles waste, water, partly with BWSSB, roads, health parks, etc. And remember, Bengaluru Urban District has India's highest district GDP governance here. Really matters economically.
Right. Maine's perspective. Why were these reforms needed, and what are the likely challenges during this transition?
Bengaluru's just grown so fast, right? Over 1.2 crore people. The old centralized model couldn't cope. Potholes, garbage, traffic, classic symptoms. So reforms were essential.
But transitions are tricky.
Always. Challenges. Coordination gaps between the state-governed BBMP and other agencies like BWSSB, BDA. Political interference is always a risk. Delays in projects during handover. And critically, ensuring real citizen participation at the ward level.
Stakeholders are numerous.
Citizens, BBMP officials, councilors, the state government, the peristotles. It's complex. But if it works, big upsides. Better livability, maybe attract more investment, more transparency, efficient services. Experts say empowering wards is the key.
So how to make this transition smooth?
Careful management is number one. Avoid service disruptions. Need capacity building for the new ward officials and members. Get resident welfare associations, RWAs involved. Ensure integrated planning across agencies. And use data GIS, MIS systems for smarter governance. Collaboration is vital.
Okay, next up, a cultural initiative. The Kaveri RT in Karnataka. A blueprint is coming soon. Tell us about this.
Yes, an interesting blend of culture and tourism. The Karnataka government is planning a daily Arti ceremony for the Kaveri River at Srirangapatna.
Like the Ganga RT.
Exactly that kind of model. The Kaveri is hugely sacred in the south, often called the Ganga of the south. And Arti, is the ritual worship with lamps.
And the purpose?
Primarily to boost cultural tourism, revive the spiritual focus on the river, and hopefully give the local economy in Srirangapatna a lift through more visitors. The detailed plan, the blueprint, is expected very soon.
Prelims focus. Important locations, schemes, facts.
Remember, Srirangapatna has historical and religious importance. The Ranganatha Swami temple there is key. Know about tourism schemes like Swadesh Darshan, theme-based circuits, and Prashad, pilgrimage rejuvenation. Note similar artists for Ganga, Yamuna, basic Kaveri facts, origin at Talakaveri, main tributaries, and the ongoing water dispute with Tamil Nadu.
Okay. Maine's analysis. Broader implications, potential challenges of such projects.
Well, these projects can be great for cultural preservation and local economies. Srirangapatna has huge potential, but challenges exist. Environmental impact is a big one, managing crowds, preventing pollution near the river.
Maintaining authenticity.
Yes, avoiding over-commercialization, keeping the spiritual feel. Crowd management infrastructure is needed, parking, waste disposal, safe GATs. Key stakeholders are the state tourism depth, local bodies, temple trusts, Ministry of Culture, and the public.
Socioeconomic impact.
Could be positive. Cultural soft power for Karnataka. Better livelihoods locally. Could even boost conservation if done sustainably. Officials see it as a symbol of Karnataka's cultural pride.
Key factors for success, then.
Definitely eco-friendly planning, maybe ban plastics, use natural materials, build capacity, locally trained guides, involve artists, goods-sensitive infrastructure, smart promotion strategy, and crucially involve the local community in planning and running it.
Makes sense. Penultimate topic, NEET becoming mandatory for physiotherapy courses in Karnataka from 2025-26.
Yes, a significant shift in health education admissions there. From next academic year, entry into the Bachelor of Physiotherapy BPT will require NEET scores.
Instead of Class 12 marks or state tests.
Exactly. It moves away from that towards the National Medical Entrance Test, NEET.
Why a change?
The government wants to standardize admissions, bring physiotherapy in line with MBBS, BDS, etc., which already is NEET. The idea is also to potentially improve the quality of students entering the field, ensure a uniform standard.
Okay. Prelims pointers, NEET facts, physiotherapy course details.
Remember, NEET is conducted by NTA for medical, dental, AYUSH, and now increasingly allied health sciences. Multiple languages eligibility is 10+2 with PCB. Physiotherapy, BPT, is typically 4.5 years undergrad, focusing on rehabilitation. Note the trend towards centralized health admissions under the National Health Policy 2017. Allied health is getting more focus.
Maine's angle, pros and cons of this move.
Potential pros. Better standardization, maybe improved quality of physiotherapists entering the workforce, which benefits patients. Could enhance employability.
Impact cons. Challenges.
Big one is access. Could it disadvantage students from rural or poorer backgrounds who might struggle with NEET coaching? That's a concern. Also, is NEET the right fit for all allied health fields? Does it overburden the test?
Stakeholders.
Students, colleges, health education authorities, state central, and ultimately patients. Officials say it ensures quality intake into the health sector workforce.
How to mitigate potential downsides.
Need-inclusive measures may be targeted coaching support for disadvantaged students. Align the syllabus carefully. Perhaps consider separate NEET sections for allied health down the line. Awareness campaigns are needed, and financial aid for those who qualify but can't afford fees.
All right. Last topic today, Basava Jayanti, to be celebrated in Parliament for the first time. Tell us about Basava and why this is significant.
Basava, or Basaveshwar, was a truly remarkable 12th century figure. A social reformer, philosopher, statesman in Karnataka. He founded the Lingayat tradition.
Known for rejecting caste.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He challenged the caste system, ritualism, gender inequality, promoted equality, rational thought, dignity of labor. Work is worship, was his famous saying. Advocated direct devotion, symbolized by the Ishtalinga.
And celebrating his Jayanti in Parliament is new.
Yes, first time officially. It's significant because it's national recognition at the highest level of his contributions to social reform and democratic values. It acknowledges Lingayat culture and promotes Basava's inclusive ideals.
What will the celebration involve?
Speeches, cultural programs focusing on Vachana literature, his poetic writings. Having MPs from different parties participate underlines its national importance.
Prelims facts on Basaveshwara.
12th century, Karnataka. Minister under King Bijala II, founded Anupava Mantapa, spiritual academy. Known for Vachanas, Kannada poetry. Key teachings: Kayaka v Kalasa, work is worship, rejected caste gender bias, emphasized inner purity. Symbol: Ishtalinga. Connect him to the Bhakti movement, social reformers. Note organizations like All India Virashaya Mahasabha Basava Samiti.
And for Mains, the relevance of his movement today.
His philosophy was revolutionary for its time, fighting deep-rooted hierarchy and ritualism. The challenge, of course, is that casteism persists, and the political sensitivity around Lingayatism's status as a separate religion remains.
Stakeholders.
The Lingayat community, Parliament Ministry of Culture, social justice advocates. The Parliament celebration reinforces constitutional values like equality, can potentially strengthen harmony. And it definitely has political resonance, especially in Karnataka. It shows his vision still aligns with India's core values.
How can his vision be promoted further?
Integrating his teachings into education is one way. Supporting research and awareness of Vachana literature. Strengthening modern social reform efforts aligned with his principles. Maybe even promoting his philosophy internationally as part of India's soft power. It requires ongoing effort.
That concludes our deep dive into today's UPSC news. We've covered quite a range: defense, security, minority affairs, space, urban governance, culture, health education, and social reform.
A lot of ground covered, yes.
Think about how these events connect to your mains answers. Link them to the relevant GS papers, maybe even your optional subject. Reflect on that push for Indigenous defense.
The ongoing border challenges. The complexities of managing endowments.
The legacy of leaders like Dr. Kasturangam. The struggles of urban development.
The intersection of culture and tourism.
Yeah.
Changes in professional education.
And the timeless relevance of social reformers like Basava. What aspects of our discussion today really sparked your curiosity? What might you want to research further?
Consider the long-term strategic implications, perhaps. The evolving nature of threats. The role of institutions, both old and new. The societal impact of science and technology. How we govern our cities. How we value our heritage. Lots to think about.
Definitely. Subscribe for daily updates, and please do drop a comment to share your thoughts. You can also download the audio or transcript for a revision later. Jai Hind.